This is Adam Gorney on National Signing Day here with Brett Goetz, South Florida Express owner, one of the biggest guys in the whole business here, Brett. I have to give you a compliment so you could give me good quotes when we talk JJ
Thanks,
Smith
Adam.
here. You know how it goes. Uh, let's talk about Smith because I've called him one of the best receivers in Rivals history dating back to 2002, which is more than 20 years. I've said he's the best receiver since Julio Jones, and that's pretty big compliments, but I'm not sure it really covers it all. What would you say about him as a player?
Yeah, I think you're pretty spot on with the Julio Jones thing. I remember Julio coming out in 2008, and it's really the size, the speed, his route running, and really his dedication to the game. I mean, JJ is. I've never seen anybody work as hard as he does to get where he is. So besides having the speed and all that, he just loves the game, and he's incredibly competitive. So I think that's really who he is and what he is.
Yeah, that was my impression. You know, you could take the physical tools, the playmaking ability, the speed for someone his size, but he got after it all the time. He didn't show up to events at 7-on-7s or camps or whatever and just sit on the sidelines. And what does that speak to? Is that can that be coached into him, or is that just the kid he is?
Well, I think it's both. I mean, I think he's had great people in his life between his coaches and his parents and everybody else. And, he always wanted to be competitive, always was competitive. And I remember hearing about him when he was like 13 years old, was playing on our 14U team. And I kept hearing about this J.J. Smith kid. And as I just watched him progress throughout the years, just saw this kid that was he's just so competitive, and he just wants to be great so badly. And I would see his dad post stuff on day. He would have football 5 days, 6 days a week, and then on Sunday he was training on a hill somewhere running. So it's just a desire to be great. I think that's what makes JJ so unbelievable.
You've had some elite ones over the years, and he played on a team just 2 years ago with Carnell Tate and Brandon Innes. Where
Yeah.
does he rank among your guys? Because that's like the who's who of South Florida receivers.
Yeah, no, he's up there. I mean, we've had Amari Cooper in the past. We've had some really great ones that that are in the league right now or in college football. And JJ's as good, or as good as any of those guys. I hate to say he's the best, or or second or third or whatever. He's as good as any of those guys, and really has. I mean, the sky's the limit for JJ. I mean, he could be the best of all time if he wants to be, and if everything is clear for him going forward with no injuries or anything. I mean, he really could be maybe the best out of all of them.
What were the final days like for his recruitment? Did it feel to you that he was being torn between Miami and Ohio State, or that he was having second thoughts, or did you feel like he always kind of wanted to go to Ohio State? How did you kind of read that in the final days?
Yeah, well, I think he always did want to go to Ohio State, and from the first time he was there, I think maybe ninth grade, he really, really loved um, Brian Hartline as a coach. He loved Ohio State. But as again, in the last few days, I think, as he was, I guess the pressure was on, there was some other thoughts. He had some of his best friends that he grew up with and played with were going locally to Miami. And I think that kind of was something that he thought about. But I think ultimately he thought about it and went to the place that was best for him, as a receiver, as a person. And, I thought, I thought he definitely wanted to go to Ohio State the whole way. But, there was, obviously his second thoughts as a kid and wanted to be sure. And I thought, at the very end there, it was close. But, I think he stuck with what his first passion was, which was playing at Ohio State.
And lastly, Brett, there was even some drama on that signing day night, and it was probably out of his hands, and he didn't have any control over it. But just keeping Ryan Day waiting like that, was it pretty
Yeah,
exciting?
yeah, and that's not JJ or his family. They're not like that playing games, stuff like that. It was, these days with NIL, it was more about, talking to the collective people that day, making sure that everything from the collective was going to be, just getting all the pieces together. In the past it was signing and that you're going. Now there's, with the collectives involved and NIL, there's some other pieces. So I think, they just wanted to, with his legal team and his agent, wanted to make sure that everything was in place before he signed. So I think, people were, again, we've seen a lot of signings on last second. There's all kinds of drama. This wasn't drama. It was just,
Yeah.
Legally just putting everything together and making sure everything was what they wanted. And that's what took so long.
Awesome. That is Brett Goetz from South Florida Express. Brett, thanks so much for joining us.
All right. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.